All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of Lawyered Up. I am your host, Jared Moore, and I'm going to try to walk with you as we navigate the horrifying world of the court system. So, with that being said, today's show, I thought last week's show was going to be pretty heavy. This week's show might be heavier. So, I'm going to start off with some little stuff, a little thing, and then we'll go into the deep end. All of the stuff last week that I had no updates on, like the Strobel case and the Friedman case, everything carries over. There hasn't been any decision in either of those cases, and any updates, if anything changes, that's when I'll mention them in the next stream. So first, to start off with, if you're local in the Tulsa area, you might have seen on the local news or one of the local outlets that a Choctaw citizen who is also a Tulsa police officer, Michael Bell, was arrested by Light Horse in April on child abuse charges. Last week on July 12th, he pleaded no contest and has been sentenced to a 3-year deferred sentence and a $500 fine. He also is required to attend parenting courses, and he's subject to 3 years supervised probation. So that's how all of that resolved itself there. Okay, so that's out of the way. So let's start off on this next case. If you're a subscriber to our channel, and I encourage you to subscribe and also click the little bell icon, that'll let you get notifications of when we're going to be streaming or having a new video. But if you are a subscriber, you know that we've been covering Creek District National Council Representative Joseph Hicks DUI troubles. So that's what we're going to be talking about today because he had a court date last week, and there were some interesting things that came out of it. So I'm going to start off by not talking about the court date. It's a bit of a bait and switch. What I'm going to do is pull some documents up, and we'll take a look and kind of go through a time machine. So the first thing we're going to do here is let's go back to October, I think. Yes, October 31st, 2020. So I'm going on the National Council's website, and I'm going to pull up the agendas for 2020. And as I scroll down here, you'll see, let's go down here to where are we at? November, here we go. October 31st, quarterly session agenda. Okay? So on this agenda, you'll see a bunch of legislation here going through. The one we're looking for is NCA-087. Now, here we go. Now you see here I don't know if you guys can see, but the notation here says adopt 1500. That means everybody on the council voted yes on this. And this was Joseph Hicks' first year on the council, so he voted yes on this legislation. So let's take a look at NCA 20-087. What is it? This is taking a long time. This PDF doesn't want to load. Wow, it's taking a really long time. Come on. You know what would be funny is if they just deleted this right before I did this. Oh, I know. Well, part of the reason this PDF's taken so long, hold on, let me swap back, is because it's got so many pages, because what this legislation was code updates. So the council passed this in order to bring Mvskoke Creek Nation's traffic code in line with state of Oklahoma's traffic code, and that it was all copacetic, right? You didn't want to have different rules for different areas if you're going to start arresting people on traffic tickets. As soon as it gets done loading, we'll take a look at it. But the part that we're going to be concerned with is the section that deals with driving under the influence. So as soon as it gets done loading. And you guys, if you have any questions about this while we're going through this, pop them in the chat. I can't guarantee in this instance that I have an answer for you about it, because when I get to the end of this, you'll see it's kind of crazy. But if there is one, I'll try to give it to you. So it's taking forever to load this. The page that we're going to go to is page 36, though. Oh, and by the way, while this is loading, all of the links to all the information I'm going to talk about in relation to this case is in the description of this video. So if you want to follow along, just head right there. All right, let me pop me back off of here. Here we go. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So you see here, it says the increased jurisdictional authority, yada, yada, yada. Comprehensive traffic code enforcement here, guys. Let's go on down. I'm going to use this sidebar to go to page 36. Let's go all the way down. Okay. Where are we at here? This is reckless driving. Here we go. So this is 3-1304. Persons under the influence of alcohol or other intoxicating substances or combinations thereof. A. It is unlawful and punishable as provided in this section for any person to drive, operate, or be in actual physical control of a motor vehicle within the Mvskoke Creek Nation, whether upon public roads, highways, streets, turnpikes, or lane, which provides access to one or more single or multifamily dwellings, who has a blood or breath alcohol concentration as defined by section 3-2705 of this chapter of 800ths or more at a time of a test of a person such, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. It's basically a boilerplate DUI code here. Let's go on down. Any person who is convicted of a violation of the provisions of this section shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor for the first offense, and so on and so forth. They shall participate in a drug alcohol assessment and evaluation, shall follow all recommendations, so forth. And then it says, be punished by imprisonment for not less than 10 days nor more than 1 year, and not fined more than $1,000. Okay, so D. D is the part that we need to pay attention to. Any person who, after a previous conviction of a violation of this section, or a violation pursuant to the provisions of any law of another Indian tribe or state prohibiting the offense provided in section 1304A, is convicted of a second offense pursuant to the provisions of this section, or has a prior conviction in a municipal criminal court of record for the violation of a municipal ordinance prohibiting the offense provided for in subsection A of this section, and is convicted pursuant to the provision of this section, shall be deemed guilty of a felony and shall participate, and so on and so forth. It's basically the same stuff. So they're saying here, your first one's a misdemeanor, your second one's a felony, and there's not really any wiggle room in there. If you guys can click this link and read it and figure out what the wiggle room. The important thing to remember here is Representative Hicks voted yes on this. He said this is what he thinks should be done. Now, that happened in October of 2020. All right. Now we're going to go flash forward. Representative Hicks, Joseph Hicks, pled no contest to a DUI in September of 2022. This was his first offense, so it's a misdemeanor. You can see right here, these are the court documents from the video on this, and the video's on our thing if you want to watch the whole thing, but it says here, Title 14, 1304A, misdemeanor. Okay? So that's his first misdemeanor. The result of that was he was put on probation. Let's go forward in time again. Then, this is his amended criminal complaint information for his arrest on February of 2023 on his second offense. You can see here, driving under the influence. So this says right here on his charging documents, this crime is a misdemeanor. I don't understand. That's one of the things I don't understand. Why is this second offense a misdemeanor? He's on probation. He's had his first offense. Why are they classifying this as a misdemeanor? Okay, it's a bit of a problem. So, what was he actually sentenced in this case? Because that's what happened last week. So let's scroll down here. So in the district court, there it is again, misdemeanor judgment. Well, go down. You can see that he's pleading no contest here. No contest. He's saying he drove while intoxicated. No contest. No probation ordered. So he was on probation for his first offense, but for his second offense, no probation ordered. Let's go down. Well, if I can get this, there we go. So here's his fines, a total fines of $379. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now you may be asking yourself, let me pop me back up here. So what's going on here? And the answer is, I don't know. It doesn't look good because the code is pretty ironclad. It says if you have already been convicted of an offense, it's a felony. I don't understand. And this is not just, I know last week we were talking about the Attorney General. This is not just the Attorney General here. This is also the judge, everybody in the court system. I do want to touch on one thing. So there's a wrinkle to this that's kind of interesting. At the Mvskoke Creek Nation, the code, the laws of the nation, legally the responsibility to publish those is with the AG's office. Previous to, I think it was 2016 or 17, it was with the National Council. The court was actually doing it at that time. So that means that if you were a lawyer, you could go into a law library and you could pull out a copy of a book that would have all of the current laws for the Creek Nation in it. How they do it right now is, I'm going to bring up here hold on, let me pop this up. I'm going to go to the Creek Supreme Court right here. And so the Creek Supreme Court does it, but they do have a stipulation on their website. See here, this disclaimer. Let me see if I can make that big enough for you guys. The table below is for information purposes only and may not represent a complete list of legislative amendments that alter the code, yada, yada, yada. This is basically the only place you can get it right now. Okay, that's also a problem. The AG should be printing this. It should be printed or have a website or something. That's what the law says. I'm a little loud. Let me back mine down a little bit. I'm getting excited. So, let's look at the Constitution. So if you're asking me, why is this a big deal? Why would anybody be concerned about whether he has a felony or not? For one thing, I'm going to jump back to the legislation here. You can see that the terms for the felony, the punishments are much more harsh. Imprisonment for not less than 1 year. That's dictated in the code. So his second offense, he's supposed to go to jail for a year. And also, he's to be fined not more than $2,500. Okay? So the punishments are more severe. But also, if you look at the Constitution, and this is from the Supreme Court's Constitution page, we're going to go down here to the legislative branch. And we're going to go down here to the bottom. Let's see here. Where is it? Oh man, I think I went past it. There is a stipulation here that says that you can't run for national council if you have had a felony in the past 10 years. Let me see where this is. Here we go. No person, Here, what I'm reading is this right here. No person shall be a representative who has not attained the age of 18 and hold full citizenship, nor has a felony conviction within the past 10 years as of date of filing for candidacy, or has ever been convicted of a felony crime against the Mvskoke Creek Nation in a court of competent jurisdiction. Okay, so if his second offense is classified as a felony, he's basically not a councilman anymore. Now, just an update on this week was also the candidate filing period, so Representative Hicks, Joseph Hicks, has registered to run for re-election, and there are challengers in the Creek District. So I would be very surprised if this doesn't come up during the election, but you guys might keep an eye on this, because to me, let me just switch back. To me, my question would be, Representative Hicks voted for this, but when it comes to him, obviously it doesn't apply. The judge doesn't think it applies. The AG doesn't think it applies. Does it apply to you and I? Who does this apply to, right? This code, specifically the changes to the traffic code. And if there is concessions being made for a councilman, that's even more disturbing, because it's going to call into question the legitimacy of the Creek Nation's courts. We can't operate in a system where the legislators get charged with a different type of a different classification of a crime just because they're legislators. If if this happened to a citizen, they're going to get charged with a felony. But if you're a councilman, they're both misdemeanors. So that's not in the code either. I didn't see that. So that's basically the gist of it, and all the documents are in the description for this video. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat other than what's going on here, and that is a question that I would echo because I don't know what's going on. For everybody out there that's like, why didn't you contact the AG's office? Back when the second DUI charge was filed on Representative Hicks, we did contact the AG's office trying to get an explanation of exactly that point. Why wasn't he being charged with a felony? And though I had several off-the-record conversations with AG Weisner, I was never able to get an on-the-record explanation of why he was charged with a misdemeanor instead of a felony. There was never, no email was sent to me, and on the phone that was never done. So it's very disheartening for me, because these are things that I don't like to see. I don't understand it, and granted, I'm not a lawyer or a judge, but I don't see where the wiggle room is in the code to allow the second offense to be classified as a misdemeanor. But if you guys out there want to go to your representative and ask them, just as an update too, we haven't seen any investigation of Representative Joseph Hicks being conducted by the council, so there's no internal affairs happening there to my knowledge, but they could be doing it and not issue any statement about it, behind closed doors. It's important to note, though, that the National Council's internal investigations, they're not a prosecutorial body. They can't charge you with a crime or change charges with a crime. I think that any citizen would definitely have the right to ask the AG what's going on and expect a response. And you could try to get a statement out of the judge. They typically don't comment on things. They will say, read my decision, right? But there's also the question for Representative Joseph Hicks is, why did you vote yes on the code that makes your second offense a felony? And then when you get a second offense, it's not a felony. So that's all the information I have on it today. And we'll see you next time, maybe next week, for another lawyered up TY Prole. I saw your suggestions there before we started streaming. I think those are good ideas, and I might look into that if something else catastrophic doesn't happen. So, and if you guys like the new backdrop that we got, post a comment in the video, and maybe we'll make a t-shirt out of it or something like that. So everybody, Mado, I thank you so much. And it's Friday night, go out and have some fun. And I'll see you next time, guys.